You're listening to the AVIT Amplifier. Each week, we'll feature voices and ideas that need to be amplified in the higher education and pro-AV IT communities. This show is brought to you by higheredav.com. And now here's your host, Ryan Gray.
Well, hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning again to the AVIT Amplifier. As always, I am your host, Ryan Gray. And if it is Wednesday, your feed has been refreshed with a new episode, and this Wednesday is no exception. I am pumped because we have a very cool person to talk to today, and to bring her voice your direction. So, Sam, thank you so much for being with us today. Could you please introduce yourself? Who are you, and what do you do?
Well, thank you so much for having me, Ryan. It is a complete honor. So, yes, I am Sam Powell, or Samantha, whatever you'd like to call me. But I work at AVIXA. I am our Manager of Industry Advocacy. So I have been with AVIXA for going on 3 fabulous years. So currently I work on our content creation group. And I love them. They're just so smart. They work so hard. But we really work hard at curating education sessions and working with experts in the industry to come up with some really great education sessions for Infocomm, as well as, speakers for many of our various Power Hour webinar series. And I also host some of those series, so that's also been fun. And most notably, maybe where people have seen me, is I do a lot of work on AVIXA TV. So I'm really excited about the work that we've done there and how fast it's grown. So yeah, that's a little bit about me and all things AVIXA.
Nice. Well, I appreciate that. That's kind of a lot to do for a place called AVIXA. So, but I'm always fascinated with people's titles and sort of the relationship between title and what you really are doing. So the kind of director of advocacy is a great word. And I think people do kind of understand that a main role of AVIXA, right, is to advocate for the industry in the world as a whole or otherwise. So when the word advocacy in your title, how do you see that word? What does it mean to you?
Well, I definitely see myself, yes, as a representative and an extension of AVIXA. So one other thing that I do is I work a lot with our strategic partners. So that really does give me a great opportunity to advocate for the AV industry, as well as, take that time to go into other organizations and see what they're doing and understand more of the intersectionality between our various industries. But it really lends itself to allow me the ability to, bring all of the knowledge that, I have, but then can share with others and tell them, okay, well, these are the resources that we have here at AVIXA, like trying to bring them over and really having an understanding of what we do and how it can benefit what they're doing. So, I really appreciate that advocacy piece of it, being able to network with so many people, in the AV and IT industry, as well as, facility managers and integrators and things like that, to really lend myself to be a true advocate for the industry, as well as helping me learn I more about the AV industry, because I had no AV background, right? So I worked at, a home builders association. So very different. Our shows are a lot better. I just have to put that out there. But way cooler technology and things like that. But yeah, it's really, being in this position has really allowed me just to learn so much, and then being able to share what I've learned and the information that we have within AVIXA, and just kind of share that knowledge throughout, various industries.
Cool. Well, thank you. It puts you in the perfect place to answer the question that everybody needs the answer to, which is,
okay,
how does the AV industry relate to all other technology, and where is that going in the next 5 years? Go.
Okay, so ChatGPT, answer that question.
Yeah, exactly. Good answer.
I wish I had the answers for all of that.
I heard, not to quote one of the voices of the industry, but I heard Tim Albright say, since COVID, I'm done asking where people see things in 5 years. Nobody can answer that question. My new horizon is 18 months at most. Like, so as you travel and talk to people in the industry, do you see that as a little more the norm? Are people able to sort of forecast and think about things 5 years in the future? Or does it feel too chaotic for that?
Sometimes it does feel a little too chaotic, to be honest. Yeah, because I sometimes have those type of questions myself on some of the webinars. But I think it's really just a lot of like just kind of research and just seeing what some of the newest trends are and just kind of just speaking out ideas. But yeah, it's kind of hard to get people to pin down because just things have been changing so quickly and so fluid. You know, everyone has something to say, about how AI is going to have a piece of, it's always going to be in some aspect of, the future of AV and things like that. So yeah, it is still a little bit chaotic, but I will say it's an excellent opportunity just to get so many really great thought leaders just kind of talking about like what they're doing right now, what they're experiencing and seeing, and just coming up with and formulating just like new ideas and things like that. So no, I wish I had the crystal ball that's on loan somewhere. So when I get it, I'm gonna come back to you and give you
exactly. Well, that's what
but I can tell you there's a lot of amazing, yes, it's going to be a lot of amazing and useful technology, and which is why people need to come to Infocomm so they can see the latest and greatest and see what's beyond. See?
All right.
Good opportunity for that plug. There you go.
Good AVIXA employee right there, plugging Infocomm. Very, very well done. So let's turn that, since you brought it up, let's turn that way. So Infocomm is a way that a lot of AVIXA members or people in the industry experience AVIXA, and to some extent, even though the names are different now, they are kind of coincide one or the other. So in your world, how much of what you're doing is Infocomm related versus non-Infocomm related?
That's a really great question. So
I asked it. It must be a good question. I only ask good questions. No, just kidding. Sorry.
You do. You are the Oprah of this AVIT podcast.
There you go. That is the best compliment I've ever been given. So thank you, Sam. Thank you so much.
Of course. I only speak the truth. So in terms of Infocomm and what I do in my day-to-day work, so it's crazy. Like right after Infocomm ends, you would be surprised like how quickly. Well, you may not be so surprised because I've been tapping for your help, but for the audience, like as soon as Infocomm ends, we are planning like almost weeks out for the next one, right? Yep. So we take lessons learned and, what went well, what can be improved, what our attendees really liked, and what do we feel like we really need to bring back and make bigger, better, greater, things like that. So we hit the ground running like right after Infocomm. So the majority of my work really consists around Infocomm. So in terms of content creation and us finding, education sessions, you've been so gracious to volunteer your time to join, one of our groups, our Learning Spaces group, to really help curate some amazing education sessions. So, I am a lowly, AVIXA employee. We depend on you and, people in the industry who are actually really seeing this technology in action and in motion. And we lean to people like you to really help craft that and create, what sessions are going to be, some of the most popular ones. What do people want to see? So we're working with, people in the industry. I'm trying to find speakers, trying to come up with really interesting topics. And through our webinars that we're working on, so much conversations and dialogues and things come out of that. So it's almost nonstop thinking about, what can we bring to Infocomm or to ISC and things like that. When I'm going to other shows, I'll go and visit other sessions and sit in on those and see, okay, well, what is this organization, what are they talking about? Is this something that I can bring, to our show? Is that a really amazing speaker that I think would fit in really well? So it's constant, right? From the content creation side. And then in terms of what I do for hosting and AVIXA TV, we want people to get engaged and get excited and go to Exchange and go to AVIXA TV. So, right now for ISC, we're doing a lot of promos, a lot of podcasts, bringing people what they can expect to see at the show. So it just isn't in June for Infocomm. It is a life cycle throughout the year, and it's exciting. And I think, with everybody at AVIXA and, everybody else that we work with, just working on it nonstop, it really just helps to keep, those ideas going and that information sharing, all of that just continuing. So it's a lot. It's such a big show. It just takes so many hands and ideas and thoughts. So it's nonstop, but I love it. It's just, yeah. And I think it shows, right? When you go to the show, the energy, all of the exhibitors, all of the different experiences. So I have to give kudos to all of my colleagues for all of the hard work that they do year round.
Yeah, I think it is one of those things that, people who work in event AV probably get, what I'm saying, because they live those things. But yeah, shows and events of this size are, full-time things in and of themselves, right? Their companies are getting lined up for their exhibit spaces for an Infocomm before the one before that. Right?
Oh, yeah.
It's more than a year out where you're working on the logistics of these things and rolling them through. That is, but to your point, it shows. But that is the place that the industry gathers. Therefore, when the industry gathers, it's obvious you want that time to be well spent and effective for people.
Absolutely. Yep. You got it. Yeah. People are, they've signed up years in advance. So we know where we're going to be years in advance. So it is a massive undertaking, but it seems to always run so smoothly.
Oh, yeah. Right. Well, yeah, everything seems to run smoothly when there's hundreds and hundreds and thousands of hours put into. Yeah, exactly.
Just a little bit of time.
Just a little bit of time. And I could go on a whole sidebar now after 2 years of HETMA having a booth and sort of being an exhibitor. What a different experience it is being an exhibitor versus just an attendee or something. Even doing sessions and whatnot. It is. It's crazy, but it makes it such a fulfilling thing. And again, it's about you. It's not about me. I'm just saying.
No, but you have one of you've got a really great booth, and you guys have a lot of energy. So a lot of people to find, where's that HETMA booth? So,
exactly.
We always look out for you.
Okay. All right, so to that point, when people hear content creation right now, usually they think, oh, that person must be making TikTok videos because that's what content creation means. But you really talked about content from a whole wide variety, like you said. It's curating sessions, getting things developed for Infocomm and webinars and AVIXA.tv and those sorts of things. So, looking at that whole width, how do you balance sort of, looking for what do people want to hear? Meaning that they already know they need to know more about it versus finding things that maybe people don't yet know they need to know about, and balancing out sort of being a destination for people looking for specific information versus bringing information they may not yet know that they need to know. Does that question make any sense whatsoever?
I think it did.
Okay.
I did.
Appreciate that. Because I confused myself in it.
No,
so I'm glad
I was
you weren't.
following with you, Ryan. I got you.
All right. Thank you.
I started doing and hosting some of the webinars, our Power Hour design webinars. I want to say this may be my second year doing it. And we get a lot of really good engagement from the audience. So we work on finding the speakers for those webinars. And we'll have a preliminary call and just kind of, ask them questions, what do you think you could speak to? What do you think our audience could benefit from? And what questions do you have to ask of the audience? And a lot of times during those webinars, we'll ask the questions to, the audience, but then during those webinars, they are really engaged and they give us a lot of questions, and it gives us the opportunity to come back and think like, okay, well, we didn't even think about this. Like, let's kind of, flesh this out a little bit deeper. And, we can extend those conversations with those subject matter experts, right? Now, we also have Exchange, right, which is our global collaboration platform, which is doing wonderfully. And that's a really good place that people can come and also like share ideas and ask questions. So I would say, we build upon a lot of like interest and questions and things like that, so contributors can pose questions, as well as just provide knowledge that, we weren't necessarily privy to. I subscribe to a lot of our strategic partners, their, publications and, their newsletters and so forth. So I'm seeing what's going on in various industries, with like, white papers and things like that. So there's a lot right now on sustainability. I've gone to so many different conferences that are talking about it, and it's something that it's something obviously the AV industry and hopefully every industry is really looking into. But seeing, like circular economies and things like that, like certain topics that I've never broached or thought of, that I can like, okay, well, let's bring this to AVIXA, and we've got task force and things like that. So there's a lot of opportunities for us to, kind of go out and like see like what questions people are asking, and then bring that back internally, and then have those conversations elsewhere as well. So yeah, there's just so many different, opportunities for us to learn and to ask the questions. And I mean, as you well know, our AV tweeps and everyone, they're so engaged. So there's always questions coming out, and our industry is not afraid to ask questions, about the industry, about AVIXA, what can we be doing more of, what things like that. So we love like those type of challenges, those questions, which really help us, I think, across the board to come up with content, and then ask our attendees who are attending our events and our education sessions and so forth. So we like to keep that dialogue going, which I think helps, from year to year to year, continue just that flow of information and education.
So would you, and this kind of, so I love that answer, because it is such a, there's so many ways that you can go about doing that. And like you said, it does have the feel of an industry that doesn't mind having the hard conversation, asking that tough question, putting it out there, and letting people battle it out a little bit. And so this is a question comes to mind, which is, from your perspective, do you see the AV industry, is the AV industry a big industry or a small industry?
That is a very good question. I think it's a pretty big industry, because I think there's so many people who don't think that they're part of it, but I think that they actually are. Now that this whole, discussion around the convergence of AV and IT, I think a lot of people in the IT world didn't think that they had anything to do with AV. And we're like, okay, no, the things that you're doing, that is part of the industry. I work with our IFMA, our International Facilities Managers Association. You would think like, oh, facilities and things like that. And we're like branching out and showing, okay, like the things that you are working on, which, has provided a lot of great content for our conference and communications group and things like that, where we weren't necessarily, working a whole lot with them before. So I think it's larger than most people believe it is. And especially coming from somebody who is outside of the industry, like I didn't even know that this industry existed. It was a thing. Right. And now that I've been, ingrained into it for, so many years, and just like now, like I'm out with my friends, they're like, oh, well, what do you do? And like now I'm like, everywhere I go, I'm like, oh, well, that's AV, and this is that, right? Oh, and you're at that McDonald's, and this is that, or you're at the airport, this is wayfinding, this, so things like that. So I think when people open up their minds a little bit bigger, they'll see how large the industry really is. So I would say that's my I think it's pretty large.
It's kind of interesting where we have this concept, and I think it coming out of higher ed, there's a little bit more to it than maybe all other ones. But like when we do a really good job at AV, the technology itself fades into the background a little bit, right? The content of the meeting, the content of the class and the thing takes over. And so you can even have you think of Las Vegas or Times Square with gigantic displays and all that, but even it's become ubiquitous enough that people just expect it. And therefore you go like, no, like, the following things. You have seen an advertisement for this. You've been made aware of that. You've had this exposure, but our industry is what delivered that to you in a way that let content come through. That there's a paradox. I don't know if that makes sense.
No,
to what we do.
Absolutely. No, yeah, and I think as technology advances more and more, I think people are recognizing it more and more. Like we've got all these places that are doing the projection mapping, and these arenas and stadiums with all the things on the ice rinks or the the basketball floors. I think people are really embracing and seeing it. I think yes, with more technology, things are like out of this world.
Yeah,
but even
exactly.
as you're saying in the education space, like for example, my boyfriend, he teaches at American University or so, and he's talking to me about like how difficult it is just to come in as an instructor and use the AV setup and things like that, and and having conversations with you and the education groups and things like that. I'm like, okay, it's now I'm putting two and two together, and I'm like explaining things to him. I'm like, okay, well that's AV,
Yeah.
and so I think it's truly everywhere, all around us, and yeah, the more that we can explain that it is, a vast, industry where there's so many opportunities to others. I think that's a great way to bring more people to our industry.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it is. It's one of those industries that once people get pulled in, they get stuck in it for a little bit.
Yeah.
So, sorry about that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but our people are really cool. So
They are. So talking about that a little bit as I know, 3 years. I guess you can still call yourself a newcomer. 3 years in, but what do you like? One of the subtexts of AV a little bit is, and I don't mind putting it out there, is like sort of the historical AV industry, and it's always easy for people to demark things by people older than them and younger than them. So I'm one of those people that sees the whole world from my own perspective, and I see this like the AV industry older than me, which was born out of very proprietary things. It was distinct signals and VGA and analog and RS-232 and this sort of like this world of AV being done by niche experts in their particular fields, and the future of it, or say younger than me, that it is an integrated technology platform that sits alongside or within, like you say, IT, which of course isn't one thing, it's many things, or home building automation, and this sort of future of integrated technology spaces. So prefacing it that way as somebody coming into the AV industry now, when you look at the future of the AV industry, do you think we're on the right track, or do you think we need to change thinking in order to get on the right track?
That's deep.
Oh yeah.
Very deep.
The best part is there's no wrong answer to it, so you're good. You know what I'm saying?
No, I definitely, I'll say I think that we're on the right track. I am hopeful, and I'm feeling optimistic about having newer and younger and more diverse voices enter into the industry, and kind of challenge what they've been seeing, and how some of the technology is working, like, for example, coming into the industry, not really having a background and understanding things, like learning about how, some motion sensor, things like that, don't recognize, certain skin tones and things like that. And, like trying to come up with ways to make, some of the technology more, inclusive and things like that. I think we're going in the right direction. I would hope, though, that we lean to some of like the newer and upcoming voices as well, right? To tell us what they're seeing. For example, I had one friend who told me, you should always have like a certain set of friends. Like you should always have somebody who's like 20 years older than you, like your age, and then like 10 or 20 years younger than you. So you're able to see things and get insights from somebody who's more mature and they've seen the world and seen things like that. Somebody, your own age, and then somebody who's up and coming, right? Because I am no TikToker. I am sadly I'm a bad millennial when it comes to, social media or anything like that. But like leaning on to, the younger generations and hearing and seeing what they're using. I think things like that, that's going to really be influential to our industry, and maybe helping us change the way that we view our industry and even some of the technology. I mean, look at a lot of the technology that we use today. Right? It's like people younger, I feel like, than me. I'm much older than I look, but we're coming up to this. I'm almost 62. Some days. Yeah. Some days. But no, I'm really hopeful for the future, and I think we're moving in the right direction. And I'm really grateful though for like the challenges that the younger generation and people nowadays are willing to be open more about things and in the industry and technology.
Yeah, I think I couldn't agree more. That sort of like the welcoming of disruption is kind of a neat thing. Like either we disrupt ourselves or someone will come disrupt us from the outside. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And so being welcoming of those things, breaking our own, rent cycles and stuff. It's difficult to do, but that's kind of, all right. That's it.
I'm all about disruption. Yep. Because it's going to happen whether or not. So you might as well,
let's do it
be ready for it and break it. Yeah. Let's break it ourselves and then figure out how to fix it and make it better.
Cool. All right. So while we've got a couple minutes left here, talk to us. If people haven't visited AVIXA.tv, why should they? What would I find at AVIXA.tv?
So AVIXA TV has so much great content. I have to give a big shout out to our production team. They work around the clock. They find some of the most interesting, innovative technology around the world, and they're just phenomenal. And they're really dedicated to bringing really great content to all of our viewers. So yes, there's on-demand content. All of our AVIXA TV at ISC, AVIXA TV at Infocomm. Anytime that we're doing any of the live streams, those are going to be there. I know at ISC, which is coming up in February in Barcelona, we're going to be live streaming all 5 days there. So that's going to be exciting. But yeah, there's just a lot of amazing leaders in the AV industry who are there giving their insights, their perspectives, their look to the future of AV. So yeah, if I can't answer that, they may, you could go there and see what they may have to say. But it's just a really great place for just a breadth of so many amazing ideas and information. A lot of the cool technology that you're seeing, like stuff about like the Olympics and just some of the really fun things. So it's definitely worth checking out. I could go on and on and on. Like they do such amazing work. So it's a really great site. It's fun. It's informative. And I'm so proud of all of the work that they've done, and I'm really happy to be a part of that.
Yeah, it's been one of the things I really like about it, and is kind of the there's a good variety of content there. So like, yeah, you want to see, behind the scenes of this place that's really built a cool immersive experience. So like you said, the Olympics, or how did they do this thing or that thing? But then also melded with, real one-on-one conversations with people that, it's not all techie, it's not all but all of it's relevant in some way to the industry.
Absolutely.
So, you know what I'm saying? Next time you type up YouTube, head over there first.
Yeah.
You might find something you like better.
Absolutely. And they are award winning. I have to put that in there. They have it was for their How'd They Do That series, which it's self-explanatory, like how'd they do it. They will go in and show you how they've done some really cool spaces and things. And yeah, as you were saying, a lot of the tours. So we'll be doing that again for Infocomm. So you got to check it out.
Cool. Well, everybody go check it out. And yeah, if you're an AV nerd, the How'd They Do That series is fantastic for all sorts of AV enthusiasts and dorks alike. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Cool. So Sam, if people wanted to learn more about kind of you, what they do at AVIXA, or get connected with you, what would be the best way of doing that?
Sure. The easiest way is via email. So I'm at spowell, so first name, last name, at avixa.org. I'm also on Twitter at Samantha D. Powell. So hope everyone just reaches out. And yeah, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. I know that, what AVIXA does is kind of always from an individual person's perspective, and I love talking to people who are living and breathing the advocacy of the industry. So thank you so much for sharing with us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the AVIT Amplifier. Join us again for next week's episode when we'll welcome a new guest who you'll want to hear from. We promise. Your host has been Ryan Gray. He's on the tweeters at Ryan_A_Gray, or find him on LinkedIn to connect. Please subscribe and give the show a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts. This show is brought to you by higheredav.com. The views expressed here are not necessarily those of our respective institutions, employers, or sponsors. Everyone hang in there, go easy, and we'll be back next week.